Thank you everybody for joining us today. Today's session is all about crowdfunding. It's all about crowdfunding successfully and how you can access money from the Sport England Active Together Fund in order to help you to do that. There's just a few housekeeping points to go through before we get started. We've allowed an hour for this session. That does include time for a Q&A at the end. Do feel free to use the chat box, which you should find at the bottom of your screen, to ask any questions throughout the session. We'll make sure we answer as many of those as we can as part of that Q&A. As I said, we have been joined by Nadine from Sport England as well, who's going to talk through the funding available. And we have a project owner on board as well, who will be talking through her experience of crowdfunding. This session is being recorded and you will be able to watch that back in your own time. We will make sure that we also include links that we've discussed throughout the session so that you can follow on with those and start your crowdfunding journey. We have the wonderful Leah Thompson here as well. You should be able to see on your screen. She will be interpreting for us today. Again, use that chat box. Feel free to communicate with ourselves and Leah if you need anything to be reiterated or gone back over throughout the session. If you have any issues with your internet connection, do feel free to exit the webinar and follow the link in your confirmation email to rejoin the live room. As I mentioned, pop any questions into the chat box. We'll get through those. If there is an issue with the view, if you can't see the full slide, please do use the view option in the top right corner of your screen and select side by side speaker view. Okay, so what is crowdfunding? Crowdfunder UK was set up around 10 years ago, and we are a rewards-based crowdfunding platform. What that means is we enable projects to offer a benefit of some kind in return for a financial contribution. That can be all sorts of things, and we will look at that a little bit later. The idea is to help incentivize people's giving and also engage that community at large by giving something back for all of those donations that they're making to you and to make them feel part of the process with you too. Slides jumping ahead. So the benefits of crowdfunding, of course, you need to raise money to make your idea happen and to enhance your club, develop your club. There are lots of other additional benefits to crowdfunding too. First of all, we have validation. By launching a crowdfunding campaign, you will build confidence in your own idea. You will also see if there is an appetite for what you're trying to achieve. It's a very low risk way of testing the water to see if what you want to actually deliver as a project has an audience and whether people are going to back it. So it's a really low risk way of doing that. It's a great way to build awareness. It's going to create a buzz around your idea, and you may well get noticed by a wider audience. We give you the tools and the resources to help you to grow your networks and build that engaged audience of your community and beyond to help you to run not only a successful campaign, but to stay engaged with your club as well going forward. You might find as well that that leads to increased membership, for example, which can be a really nice bonus on top of the money raised. It could be that you're working with different community groups throughout your area in order to work collaboratively, sorry Leah, together going forward. Everybody that supports your campaign will become an advocate. They will talk about your crowdfunding campaign. They will go on to shout about the great things that you're doing. So you'll build an engaged audience. You'll have meaningful connections with those that are supporting your project too. That might even lead to partnerships further down the line with local businesses, sponsors maybe, or people who are wanting to get involved with the club on a voluntary basis or help out in any way that they can. You will also learn new skills. taking part in our online courses, which are free to access, coming along to webinars such as this, and making use of the tools that we have for you will have you crowdfunding like a pro. These are really transferable skills too, so you can use them in different areas of your life. One of the great things, which is a big plus, is the extra funding that we have on offer for eligible projects. And we'll be talking through the Sport England offer a little bit later on. There are lots of funds available all throughout the country, some at national level and some more regional focused. Do make sure you're checking to see what you could be eligible for on our website and applying for each of those that you think would be a good fit for you. You don't have to choose just one. You may be matched with Sport England and maybe a local authority, for example. Apply for all of the ones that you think would be a good fit for you. Why do sports clubs crowdfund? Well, we know now from having worked with Sport England closely over the last few years and seeing the amount of different sports clubs coming through our platform and the variety of sports that have come through the platform, we know that there's a really good recipe and formula for sports clubs crowdfunding successfully. And that comes down to a few different things. Firstly, you have an engaged audience already. You have club members, you have supporters that will support your teams potentially. So you already have a crowd at your fingertips. You also have club members and those that have a vested interest in your club succeeding that you can bring on board for this journey with you. The other thing that you have at your disposal is, by nature, you are all generally quite competitive people. And that can really play to your advantage when running a crowdfunding campaign. Get people involved. Think about fundraising activity. Is there a way you can put different people to task and delegate to really encourage those to feel a part of the process with you? Try and build a team of people around you to help you do this. Maybe think of an incentive, which team could raise the most amount of money towards the crowdfunding campaign, which member of the squad is going to bring the most supporters. Think about really encouraging everybody to get involved in whatever way that they can. Just a little look at the numbers. So far to date, in our time of working with kind of Sport England, we have seen more than 4,000 projects go live and crowdfund, and that's sports projects specifically. We've managed to distribute more than £8.4 million worth of extra funding, and that's from our sports partners alone. So that's not including our other national and regional partners that we work with. The projects, the sports projects that have come through have seen 300,000 plus supporters making donations on their pages, and they have collectively raised more than £26 million. So that's a snapshot into the impact of sports crowdfunding. Obviously, the platform as a whole, many more projects coming through there. But just to give you an idea of the impact we've had with sports so far, really exciting numbers. To talk us through the fund that is available for eligible projects from Sport England is Nadine Karoma. Welcome, Nadine. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to hand over to Nadine, who's going to talk through the Active Together Fund.
Thanks, Zoe. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Hopefully, you'll pick up some invaluable tips on running a successful crowdfunder campaign and also learn how to access our Active Together Fund on the platform. So our Active Together Fund was launched almost 4 years ago in response to the COVID pandemic. But over the years, this has evolved to support the return to activity following the pandemic, to support clubs and organisations with any adverse weather, so for example, flood relief, and now navigating the cost of living and energy crises. The current focus of the fund is recovery, reinvention, and building resilience. And typical projects under this kind of remit would be any funding to support your general maintenance needs for your facility, to cope with the increased demand for activity, any essential works you may have, or perhaps more so now, making your facility more energy efficient due to the energy crises. Through the fund, we've supported over 800 projects from a wide range of sports, and with lots of funding still available, we're looking for even more clubs and organisations to support. Active Together is available across England with match funding of up to 50% available to a maximum value of £10,000. Now, we appreciate for many of you that crowdfunding is probably a new experience. So together with Crowdfunder, we have lots of resources available on the website. So do tap into this and access it if you can. I'll now also just give you a couple of tips to help support you through the application process. So firstly, as crowdfunding is quite time and labour intensive, it is a good idea to get a small project team together if you can to support you with the crowdfunding process. Secondly, we would advise you to get your page as ready as it can be before the point of applying. So try to get your text together on your page, have lots of images on your page to help tell your story, and also try to get some rewards available on your page as well, as this is a rewards-based crowdfunding scheme. Once you have that, we would suggest that you apply to us before going live, as our team here will likely have some more tips and improvements for you to make. And it is a lot easier to do this whilst your page is in draft form. I'll now hand back over to Zoe to discuss things in a bit more detail.
Thank you, Nadine. That's absolutely fab. I'm just going to talk through the mechanics of how the funding works. And then would you be happy, Nadine, to just hang on the call in the background until we have the Q&A at the end, because I'm sure there's going to be some questions coming through for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fab. Thank you so much. Okay, so some really exciting news there about the fund itself. So some money available potentially for eligible projects. The way that it would work through running a crowdfunding campaign is you would apply for the match fund through your project page, and that would be in draft mode. You want to be applying before you go live with your project, if possible. This gives you time to make any changes that you might need to get approved. And it also gives you an opportunity to think about going live with some really exciting news that you're going to be matched by Sport England. Okay, so then you would start your crowdfunding campaign. You would go live and you'd start to raise money. You need to raise 25% of your initial target, and that is by a required amount of supporters. You can see those in the table on this slide. And that's dependent on what your target is. Once you have reached 25% of your target raised from the required amount of supporters, you would then see a pledge land on your crowdfunding page from Sport England. They will be listed as a supporter, and suddenly the amount that you need to raise in your progress bar, the amount that you have raised, will jump up by the Sport England pledge amount, and all of a sudden you're so much closer to reaching your target. You then shout about this exciting news to your supporters, and you continue to crowdfund until you reach 100% of your target. At that point, you have secured all of the money raised so far, and you have secured your Sport England pledge as well. You have to reach 100% of your target to secure the Sport England pledge. Now, if you needed to raise a little bit more money, maybe there's some additional things you would like to add in to your project to make it really sing, you might want to add a stretch target. That's a secondary goal that you and your supporters can aim for to keep raising money until the close of your crowdfunding campaign. So if you have a little bit of time left live on your campaign, you might decide to carry on raising money, just so you've got a little bit extra to be able to do all of those extra things for your project itself. Just want to bring your attention as well to the Sport Wales fund that we have. If you happen to be in Wales as opposed to England, we have with Sport Wales a fund with up to £15,000, and that's again, or up to 50% match dependent on your target. They are looking to support sports clubs or community organisations looking to create, enhance and redevelop their sports facilities. Of course, there needs to be a benefit to the overall community as well. Okay, let's look at how to apply for that extra funding. When you start setting up a project in the Crowdfunder platform, you'll be asked to complete some information and let us know where in the country you are, what you're crowdfunding for, the setup of your club. So is it a charity? Is it a constituted group? Is it a CIC? So think about the organisational structure. You will have a whole section on extra funding. Please fill in this section and let us know what your project outcomes will be. Are you going to be working with specific demographics of the community? Also, make sure you let us share your information with our funders. Our system will then match you with any of our match funding partners, or extra funding partners, we call them, that will be able to potentially make a pledge onto your project. You will need to apply for these funds through your project dashboard, and there's lots of helpful guides on how you can actually do that step by step. But do make sure you're applying for all and each and every one of those that you've been matched with that is a good fit for your project through your project dashboard. Sport England are very, very engaged with the projects coming through Crowdfunder, and they will be in contact with you very quickly to start that conversation on whether you've been approved or whether you need to do a little bit more work on the page and a few amendments in order to hopefully secure that approval. You would then go on to launch your project and of course start raising the money that you need. When it comes to creating your page and telling your story, what you would need to do is make sure that you are telling your story in such a way that it engages with your community. It engages with your supporters. So think about images and videos. Think about what is going to be important to your supporters. A bit of history about the club. Your community engagement. Why is your project going to be important to the community and to your members? Try and keep it nice and vibrant. Use lots of images. There's a great example that we have on the screen here. There are lots of examples as well from other projects that have been supported by Sport England already. If you look at the resource bar on the bottom of, the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, under the resources tab, I've started sharing some links with you. If you look at the Sport England Fund page, you will see every project that has been supported so far. Take inspiration from those. We have a template to help you create a really engaging page as well. So do follow the formula set out for you already, and that's really going to help you to make sure that you're creating the most appealing and engaging page that you can for your supporters. We mentioned rewards. This is a really great way to incentivize people's giving and also to give something back to the community that are supporting you. Sport England will need you to have rewards on your page in order to approve your project. It's a really wonderful way to demonstrate to them your ability to connect with your community. So do make sure that you are speaking to your local business community, speaking to your members, different organisations that you have a working relationship with, to see who might be able to gift or donate rewards to your page, to be able to list them on there. The idea is that somebody can get a bargain, if you like, from your crowdfunding page rather than just kind of out on the high street. So think about discounted products or services, potentially club merchandise, limited edition merchandise, club sponsorship. All sorts of things can work really well. Think creatively and have lots of varied price points so that somebody with limited disposable income could still potentially claim a reward, and then there might be a higher end business centered reward as well. Another thing that you can do is have other people fundraise on your behalf. This is a great example of this. We call it a multiplier project. You can ask for this to be turned on your crowdfunding project page. What it does is prompt others to set up their own little pages as their fundraising pages on behalf of your main project page. All of their supporters, all of the money raised automatically shows on your page too. So it's a great way to hit those milestones. And again, to engage with your community. We can see that the local primary school here has got involved and run an on-uniform day, for example. So think about who you have around you and how you might incentivize that fundraising. Now, somebody who has done this fairly recently and successfully is the wonderful Samantha from the Wyre Forest Gymnastics Club. Sam, are you there? Hoping Sam's in the background.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Amazing.
And how are you? You all right?
Very well, yes. A bit of a rocky start to this one this morning, but we're pulling it back, so it's great. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit, Sam, about your wonderful crowdfunding campaign. Would you mind telling us what the project was for, what the need was? Why did you need to raise that money?
So we've been in our gym for 15 years, and we had a new pit put in at that point in time. Our pit, unfortunately, has definitely seen its day, and Gymnova, our equipment supplier, told us that we needed to do a full replacement. So we needed, well, over £15,000 to really be able to do that.
Wow, okay, so a big ask. And in terms of why Crowdfunder, what was the draw to using our platform rather than kind of more traditional ways of accessing money for sports clubs, like grant writing or that kind of thing, bid writing?
We were in need of money quickly, really. So obviously with most funders, there's no guarantee you're going to get it. Whereas we felt that a lot of Crowdfunder was down to us. So we were able to take that autonomy and made sure that if we worked hard on this project, we would be able to receive the funding we need, or we so much hope we would be able to. Whereas you can spend hours writing a bid and you still never know whether you're going to actually be successful at the end, and you could just be told no for these reasons. But yeah, we kind of felt this was a good option for us to be able to control it and to be able to receive money quickly, so we could have our pit back in action, because gymnasts use it every day of the week. It helps to learn more advanced skills, and that was really the biggest draw for us.
Amazing. And you had a huge amount of support, 203 supporters, which is no mean feat in itself. Like, that's 203, members of your community getting behind your project. In terms of the extra funding, how did you find that application process? I know that you were saying you needed that money kind of quicker, so that's the appeal. Was the process relatively quick for you as well?
Yeah, definitely. So just felt like, well, it was one form, fill in the boxes accordingly, still explain like you would do in any other funding bid, why you need that funding, evidence base it, link to your numbers of members, so you understand your demographic of your local area as well. And it was extremely easy and straightforward.
Amazing. And how did you find promoting that? So you've got that great news that you're going to get the match funding. How did you then go on to kind of promote and engage with your community and really get them on board? That's sometimes what people find the difficult part, is actually kind of getting out there and spreading that news.
I actually used the comment space on the project page. So every time we had some good news, we used that. But at the same time, we also updated all of our social medias, and very much shouted about it from that angle. We spoke about it in the clubs to all of our members. And then that obviously went back to the parents. The parents came to us. Some even said like, oh, you're doing amazing on your funding page. You're nearly there. You're so close. They would start conversations at the door with us. And then obviously we could carry on and have further conversations about that as well. We did find that because we had quite a few events before Christmas, which is when our campaign was, we actually were putting event tickets on. So instead of asking the parents to pay on the door or to really pay up hand just directly to us. We sent them onto the crowdfunding page, asked them to purchase a ticket through that for, again, this really the same amount of money we would have done, but then most donated for us. So they may spend £5 on a ticket, but then they spent another £2-3 on a donation. So that really helped. And then they'd come back and have a chat to us in the gym about it. Or again, some parents would be like, well, how do we get a ticket? And they'd be like, well, actually head onto our crowdfunding page, take a read of it, share it with your family. So we found that was really quite useful as well.
Amazing. And so you're using all different kind of angles that you had at your disposal. That's really important as well, to keep that messaging different for different parts of your audience. So not everybody's going to follow you on Facebook, or might not come to the kind of, you know, like you say, face to face. So it's working out how you communicate best with everybody. And you did a great job of that. Would you have any advice to those thinking about crowdfunding? What did you find easy? What did you find difficult, if anything?
Well, I took part in this webinar probably back in September, and that was extremely useful for us to be able to really have the confidence and build the confidence to go ahead. And it also gave us, instead of me just looking at a blank project page or the back end of the system of how to set it up, it kind of gave us a plan. Like, I knew I needed to go away and say to the club, right, we need to make sure we've got 10 to 20 rewards of varying amounts. So we kind of pulled together a fundraising group at that point. That was quite some very keen parents. One lady was extremely good at tapping into local businesses to gain rewards and other items. So she went off. We had a WhatsApp group. There's probably over like 30 people in it, and everyone was suggesting ideas of what we could do. And it just kind of snowballed from that, really. And I was very much like, so I took what I learned from the webinar, went back to the club and said, we need to do this, this, and this. And then we're able to write the information, or to write our project, add all the rewards, have it checked by Sport England, and then go forwards. The one that was all really straightforward. Once we had our plan. The issue we're having now is that due to how we're set up on Company's House, we're actually trying to access our Sport England match funding through the wallet. So that's just given us a few like stumbling blocks. But apart from that, it's all been dead easy. And the help I've received linked to the wallet has been really helpful.
Amazing. And that, to be honest, that is sometimes kind of the only hurdle, and it is definitely something to consider though for clubs. And I think advice kind of going forward would be, once people have that approval in place, to kind of start that process of uploading that wallet, because sometimes what we're talking about here with the wallet is it's a little bit more due diligence that needs to be done in order to release any extra funding to the club. So it's things like uploading certain documents to verify that the club is who they say they are, essentially. So just have that in mind as part of the process. Once you've been approved, the sooner you get that kind of uploaded and verified, the easier it will be at the end of your crowdfunder to draw down that money, receive that payout. In terms of any added benefits, Sam, that you might have seen as part of running a crowdfunding campaign, so you've got the money, which is fab. Has there been anything else that's kind of happened along the way which has benefited the club? Maybe raised awareness, or membership numbers have increased, or just general kind of partnerships maybe that you've developed throughout the community?
Our membership has certainly had an impact. Like, we're only really a small club anyway for potentially how big a gymnastics club can be. So we are around 450 members, where some clubs can be over 1,000 members. So we are relatively like small to medium sized, really. But since Christmas, we've had over 60 children come through and try a taster and then come on to want to join us. So that's been really positive, definitely as well. We made loads of new, well, not a lot, but we definitely built some new partnerships before Christmas when we were trying to gain all of our rewards. A lot of people know us locally anyway, because we've been in the community for over 30 years. So the club's relatively like been around for quite a while. But again, some people went, oh yeah, I'll help. You know, I know someone who's been there, or again, like, I don't know, my sister's child's going there at the moment. But yeah, people, it definitely, the fact that we're quite well known in the community, been there a little time, it certainly helps cement some partnerships further.
Amazing. That's really good to hear. Do you have that one golden piece of advice that you would impart on people that are here today thinking about starting a crowdfunding journey?
definitely have a solid plan of what you want to do in place. So make sure you've got a good number of rewards of varying amounts before you start, and then know how you want to add those rewards later. So we had, well, as you do, we had a really huge like footfall through the site on the first day we loaded, or the first day we went live, and then after that it went a little bit quiet. So we got to a stage where we decided, like, right, we'll add a few more rewards on that are a little bit interesting. That then brought some people. So we spoke about that on social media. We spoke about that in newsletters, and that then brought some people back to the site. And then some people in the club were like, oh yeah, I have seen it, and I'm just going to get on and do it. And I am going to do it. It's like, well, actually, I've only live for like about 4 weeks. If you want to donate or buy a reward, you need to go on today. So just have a really good plan, I'd say, is the most important thing, and know what that's going to look like for the next 4 weeks.
Amazing, thank you. That's such good advice. And it's something that I don't think everybody necessarily considers, that it's sometimes good to actually have a few things like that in your reserves, so you can be reactive if it does start to kind of drop off a little bit. And it will generally in the middle of a campaign is where it feels as though engagements kind of dropped off, the donations aren't coming in as they did at the beginning, and that's completely natural. It's making sure you've planned for that, just like you did, Sam, and having those plans in place to be able to add more rewards, or celebrate a milestone, start shouting about something and bringing people back onto the page, which is brilliant. Sam, thank you so much. Would you be happy to hang on for the Q&A at the end, because I'm sure we'll have some questions come through about your experience, if that's okay?
Yeah, definitely, of course I will.
Amazing, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have got a huge amount of resources available to you and lots of support to help you to be able to do exactly what Sam did and engage your community and raise money for your project. We've got webinars such as this that happen regularly. We've also got we've got drop-ins each week that you can come along to, so you can speak to a member of the Crowdfunder team via Zoom, and you can come along and ask your questions and also hear other people's experiences as well, and other people's questions. And that in itself can be really beneficial. A little bit of peer-to-peer support can be really helpful. We've got wonderful online learning tools and guides. We've got one specifically for sport, which I will make sure you have access to now. So in the resource tab, let me just pull that one up for you. If you look in the documents section, we've got a great how to crowdfund for your sports club guide. We also have some online learning tools as well. I will share the link to those in our follow-up email. We have our knowledge hub, which is full of wonderful information and guides on how to do every single step of this successfully. Things like creating a press release, or how to network, how to promote your campaign. We have a wonderful customer service or customer support team, I should call them. They're a really wonderful bunch. They've written all of the help center. So they are the ones behind all of the troubleshooting guides and the FAQs. So do check the help center first. If you're still unsure of an answer, please do drop customer support team an email. And you have a live project dashboard. When you go live with your project, you are able to manage every single aspect of that campaign through your dashboard. It's a really, really valuable tool. So do make friends with that as part of your crowdfunding campaign too. This is a snapshot of our Crowdfunder Sports Learn platform. So very user-friendly, lots of great information there, things to think about, little videos to watch, getting you up to speed with the process. So I will send that through to you. That would be a great next step for all of you to have a look at, as well as the crowdfunding for your sports club guide. If you can do those with whoever is going to take part in this with you, think about having a team around you. You will all be in a really good position to be able to do this successfully. Okay, that brings us to the end of our slides for today. We've got a lovely amount of time to answer some questions. So I'd like to invite Sam and Nadine back onto the screen, please, and we'll see if we can get through as many of these as we can. Hi, Nadine, thank you. Hi, Sam. Thank you for joining me again. We've had a few questions coming through throughout the course of the session. Firstly, one from Gary. This is for you, Nadine, I would say. If turned down initially, so if declined initially from applying, would Sport England consider a second application, so reapplying?
Yeah, so absolutely. If it's the case that you are declined, even with the current campaign, we do like to work with you on improvements and give you the chance to action some of our feedback. And quite a few of the projects we've supported were actually declined in the first instance and then came back following some changes and some work on their campaigns for us to support. We're always open to giving people that opportunity, providing that you haven't already reached your target or that there's sufficient time left for our team to kind of review your campaign before your campaign ends. But yeah, definitely open to that.
Brilliant, thank you. That leads on really nicely actually to kind of Gary's follow-up question, which is, are you told why you were initially turned down so that you can improve the chances of success?
Yeah, so when we initially receive your application, we tend to send an email out that has kind of some light tips on the areas that you could improve upon your page. And then if it is the case that you haven't had time to get round to it and your campaign is declined, then most times we'll follow up with some more detailed feedback telling you the exact areas to work on.
Fab, thank you. Gary's also asked about adding videos. You can absolutely add videos to your campaign page, so you can add them to the main body of the page. There is an option to add images and video. It's part of the toolbar in that section. You will also be prompted, if you so wish, to add a video at the top of your page, which appears before any of the text. That's a really great way to engage your potential audience. If you can create a short video, maybe 1 to 1.5 minutes long, does not need to be lengthy, and it doesn't need to be professionally shot or highly edited. If you can get the club's personality across in that short amount of time and explain why you need to raise the money, so what you're crowdfunding for, how people can help you to raise the money, and anything that's kind of key about the project itself within that time, that's a really great way for people to get a good sense of what the project is about without potentially even reading the rest of the page. Some people, that will be the hook and they will make a donation based on that. For others, it will be the thing that draws them in to then look at the rest of the page. So everybody's short on time these days, so do try and do that if you can. It's a great thing to have for your application with Sport England as well. We know that pages that have strong videos do incredibly well. They do need to be a YouTube or a Vimeo link. That's what it'll ask you for when you're uploading those videos. So be sure it's in that kind of format. But you should be able to do that relatively simply or straightforward, and just get characters involved in your club. If you have a youth squad that are happy to be in front of the camera, or you have a larger than life character as part of your committee or whatever that might be, get people in front of the camera and have fun with it. It doesn't have to be as scary as it sounds. And we've seen some really hilarious videos, haven't we, Nadine, that are just the personality of the club completely out there on the plate for everyone to see. And it works. People resonate with that, don't they? Okay, one from Tracy. Can a parish council apply to reinstate sporting items which are now at the end of their lifespan? And how about new sporting items which may have been requested by the community? So could a parish council apply for the Sport England Fund?
Yes, absolutely, they could. And as you've put in your question, Tracy, it's got the sporting element, and if it's clearly wanted by the community, then that we would be interested in a project like that. So yeah, if you are thinking about applying, certainly do.
Amazing, thank you. And we've had this one in just asking about that kind of extra due diligence, so the wallet that I mentioned, and asking whether it is possible to actually upload that later on in the campaign or once the money has been raised. And the answer is yes. You might find that it pays off to do it earlier because it can be a little bit of back and forth potentially before it does get verified, because documents do need to be uploaded in certain formats, for example, and there's lots of help, as Samantha mentioned, on hand to make sure that that does all happen correctly. And our customer support team are wizards at sorting people's wallets with them. If you don't have all of that documentation to hand before you are trying to receive your payout, so towards the end of your project, you can do it at that stage. It just will mean there will be a delay on receiving that payout until that wallet has been verified. So the earlier you can do it, the better. Just bear in mind that you won't be able to receive that extra funding payout until that has been verified. Okay, another question from Gary. I'm going to field this one to you, Sam. How do you add new rewards mid-project?
Well, there's a reward section on the dashboard area of a little part of building your project. So when you go to edit your project, there is a rewards section, and at the bottom there's a little box, well, I think it's at the bottom of what I can remember, that just says add another reward, and you can just type in all of the details of your reward and then just click upload, as you would do when you're setting up the project as well.
Amazing, thank you. This is from Rachel. Is there a way to link platforms so that we can check people into an event itself? We can offer tickets in the Crowdfunder at a slightly discounted rate. So linking it with things like Eventbrite, for example. We don't have a link with Eventbrite as such in order to kind of link that to your crowdfunding page. You can link your social media platforms, which can be a great way to kind of funnel people through all of that communication so they can learn more about the club. They might want to look at you on Facebook, Instagram, whatever that is for you, where you have your presence. If you are holding an event with, say, Eventbrite, it might be that you want to include a hyperlink to that within the main body of your page, or it could be that those people that are claiming it as a reward on your page, you will have access to a rewards download. So you will have access to a report of those people and their email addresses to be able to make sure that they have tickets to that event. So it might be a little bit of admin involved in that one. There isn't a kind of direct link with ticket selling sites like Eventbrite, unfortunately, but there are definitely ways of doing that. Put it into your planning, make sure you've got kind of that trail, that paper trail, or however you're going to manage that from an admin standpoint, but you will have access to the information of those people that have claimed that as a reward relatively easily. Okay, this one probably is a good one for Nadine in terms of affecting the extra funding. From a crowdfunding standpoint, Rachel, yes, you can add memberships to the rewards list, any type of membership. It's something that could be a really good incentive for your supporters, your club members. Nadine, how would you kind of view that from a Sport England standpoint as a reward?
Yeah, so from our point of view, we do allow memberships, but what we would suggest is perhaps adding a few kind of discounted ones to your campaign. So that should either attract your existing members to pledge their support to the campaign and then obviously benefit from a discount in their usual membership prices, or alternatively, it could be a nice way to hook new members who are joining your club for the first time and obviously have that benefit of it being discounted. So that's the way that we would suggest that you add it to a page, because it's worked really well for campaigns in the past.
Brilliant, thank you. This is a really great question actually from Martin, because I think there's sometimes some confusion. So Martin's asked, when setting our target, do we include the match funding in our initial target? i.e., if we think we might be able to raise £10,000 via our supporters, would we be looking at applying for match funding as well? So would we be setting our target at £20,000? Nadine, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, absolutely. We would suggest that you set it as sort of what you can raise plus whatever match funding you hope to get, because from our point of view, when we look to pledge towards a campaign, we will base that on the amount that you put in the application. So definitely do set it as to what you can fundraise on your side plus whatever you're hoping to get.
Brilliant, thank you. And Martin's follow-up is match funding from different sources. Can the same donations be match funded multiple times, i.e. Sports England and a local authority? It does depend on the fund terms and conditions. Essentially, you will find that if you have multiple match funders that are pledging onto your project, they may well match the same donation from a supporter, but they probably will not match each other, if that makes sense. It's worth looking at the T's and C's. With Sport England, it is a kind of a lump sum pledge. With some of our other funding partners, it might be a live match fund. So it's actually matching donations in real time. So there are lots of different things to have a little look at. Ultimately, check the terms and conditions of the fund, and also consider the fact that whatever happens if you're having multiple funding partners get involved with your project can potentially only help to boost the amount of money that you're going to be raising overall. So you might want to look at the mechanics a little bit. Ultimately, it would be a great, exciting thing to be shouting about and help you to get to your target that much quicker. Okay, let's have a little look. So a question from Tracy. I should just mention we have probably around 10 minutes left of the session. If anybody does have any questions, now's the time to pop them into either the Q&A or the chat box. I'll look through that one in a moment. So a question from Tracy. Could you combine 2 projects in one application, i.e. football goals and pétanque? French bowls, I think I said that right. That is what our community are asking for. So more of a kind of broad spectrum, just not one tangible thing, but maybe a few different elements. From a crowdfunder standpoint, yes, absolutely. That might be considered kind of enhancing the club as a whole for the benefit of the community and bringing on board a different kind of sporting discipline. In terms of Sport England, Nadine, what would be your take on that one?
Yeah, similar. Zoe, we would accept something like that, and it is possible to do that within one campaign. What we would suggest, probably to make it clear for your crowd, is to include all the elements that you're looking to crowdfund for under your Why Are We crowdfunding section, for example, and then perhaps you could even go one step further and include kind of a rough cost breakdown, so it's quite clear to your crowd how much is going towards each element of your projects. Alternatively, if both the things you are looking to crowdfund are possibly quite large scale, then you could consider separate campaigns and kind of phasing it so that you focus on one element at a time.
Brilliant, thank you. Really good advice there. This one, I wonder if Sam, you might have a take on this as well. So Emma's asked, can people pay for things within the centre, so I guess within the club, and then add it to the crowdfunder? For example, if they did events and people paid in cash. I don't know if you had experience of that, Sam, with your campaign. From our side of things, we'd say, yes, you can do that. We would always, wherever possible, try and kind of signpost people to donate directly to the crowdfunder. But did you have any experience of running any events where people did kind of donate in cash to the club and you needed to pay that on yourselves, or?
Well, we definitely, so all of the events we would normally run around Christmas time are normally cash on door. So we put those links online, well, like I said before, and we advertised to all of our parents that would have come to those events normally to go and buy their tickets. However, when they bought with them Granny and Grandad, who may not have done it, for instance, we actually use a QR code that can be produced. And then we actually had that on the door, and some people said, oh, can we give you cash? And it's like, actually, can you do us a favor instead? Can you scan this QR code and then the money goes directly onto our crowdfunder for us? So actually no cash came through us at that point. It did go straight to crowdfunder, which was great.
That's amazing. You've done that really well, because quite often we do have clubs that feel that they do need to kind of put a little bit of cash from, you know, they've done an event in the clubhouse and people have donated in cash. So having those QR codes that you do have access to in your project dashboard downloaded, you know, around the clubhouse to kind of say, this is what we're doing, funnel everything onto there, is going to really help overall. So yes, you can do. If you need to pay on cash into your project, try and keep it to a minimum. Do definitely signpost as much as you can, and support as well people being directed to the crowdfunder. So having those QR codes kind of being on hand possibly if you need to kind of give them a bit of a demo of how to do that if it's something that's not quite familiar to them just yet. But it is hopefully, fingers crossed, made as simple as possible to kind of scan that code and then be taken to the page. Okay. Question in from Matt. This is more about eligibility, Nadine. Is it worth people contacting you directly at the Sport England email to ask specific questions about eligibility for the fund?
Yeah, absolutely. Just send an email to internalcaf@sportengland.org, and any sorts of questions you have that might be quite unique to your projects, or you haven't found an answer on our webpage, definitely send us an email. We'll be happy to clarify any sorts of queries there.
Amazing, thank you. And the email address is up on the slide at the moment. It does sound, Matt, a community centre and a youth centre with sport as its focus sounds like definitely something Crowdfunder and Sport England would see as being a successful project idea, but it's definitely worth just checking the eligibility criteria as well. Okay. We've had a question about gift aid. This is something that comes up quite a lot. If you are able to collect gift aid, so if you are maybe a charity or a not-for-profit which is able to actually accrue and draw down gift aid from HMRC, you can actually check the tick box as part of setting up your page, and you can accrue gift aid on your crowdfunding campaign. You can also attach it to rewards if you think that those may well be able to accrue gift aid on. I know there's a few kind of guidelines and rules as to what you can actually kind of claim gift aid on, so just make sure you're up to date on those things. The one thing I will say is, just because you have ticked that box to say you'd like to receive gift aid, at any point you can untick that. You're not kind of locked into that process. So if you find that the question is that they're not completely set up in order to receive it just yet, it might be that you want to tick that box and then maybe untick it, or hold off and tick it at a later stage. Essentially, what will happen is the gift aid will accrue on your page, and at the end of your successful campaign, you can download a gift aid report, and you should be able to upload that straight into the HMRC portal. It's all kind of formatted so that it links very seamlessly, and then you'll be able to draw down your gift aid. So we don't deal with the mechanics of drawing it down. We enable you to accrue it on your campaign page. So if you have any gift aid specific questions, it's best to field those to either your club kind of treasurer, accountant, or potentially HMRC to get a little bit more info on that one. Okay, right, I'm just being informed that we've had some questions in the chat as well. You guys are doing incredibly well with questions today. Let's see what we've had come through. Okay, this is an interesting one, Nadine. This particular attendee, they have already received funding from the Active Together Fund. Would if they're going to launch another project, would they be eligible for this match funding again?
Yeah, so providing it's not for the same expenditure, if it's for something different, then absolutely we would welcome another application from you.
Amazing, thank you. Question from Jackie, how is a supporter defined? So anybody that donates to your crowdfunding page will be labelled, if you like, a supporter within our platform. So when we refer to supporters, we're talking about people that have made that kind of financial contribution to your project, and you'll be able to see the number of those people on your page. You'll be able to access certain elements of their information. You'll be able to communicate with them directly through your project page by posting things like updates, which will get directly emailed out to all of your supporters that are listed on your page so far. They can leave comments of support as well. So when we talk about supporters, that's who we're referring to, people that have already donated to your page. And your potential supporters are those that have not yet made that donation that you're hoping to engage with. Okay. Bear with me while I scroll through a second. Really quickly, we did start a few minutes after 1, so I just want to cover off as many of these as I can in the next few minutes. Another one from Tracy. Do you have to offer rewards? Is it a requirement? From crowdfunding standpoint, no, it's not a requirement. You could run a donations only campaign if you wanted to. What about from receiving match funding from Sport England, Nadine?
Yeah, so from our perspective, we would require you to have some rewards on your campaign page, because we do support this rewards-based approach. I know it can be quite daunting to think about offering rewards, but we really have seen the benefit of having rewards across a number of campaigns that we've supported. So if it's the case that you're struggling to think of what you can offer, do definitely engage with our support and with Crowdfunder, because there's lots of examples of rewards that you can offer on a campaign. And it's a really good way of kind of expanding the reach of your club or organization within your community. If people aren't aware of your work and what you do, rewards can be a real hook to getting people to show some interest in your campaign and your organization. So definitely something we can provide support on, but we would require rewards.
Brilliant, thank you. Very, very quickly, Nadine, I know this comes up a little bit and you might have actually already covered this, but in terms of response time for approval, if somebody puts in their application, how long does it normally take to hear back from Sport England?
So once we've received your application, we try to get back to you within sort of 24 hours. Of course, if it's the weekend, then we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And in terms of getting a decision from our team, it's about 2 to 3 days. So we advise that, as I said, you get your page ready as much as you can with your text, your images, your rewards, and then hopefully the more that's on there, the more that our team can take a look at. But you know, we understand that for a lot of people, they're volunteers and they might not have the capacity to get to things straight away. So that's where that kind of option of being declined but working on things in your own time and coming back fits in quite well.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And Sam, thank you for joining us as well, and for hanging on in there in the Q&A. I just wanted to say what a great job you've done with your campaign. I will make sure that I include a link to your project page as well when I send out the replay, and I do encourage everybody to take a little look at it. Click through to social media, see how these guys have been promoting, take a little bit of inspiration from project. How are you, just to kind of finish off, how are you with actually being able to deliver on any of the things that you kind of raise the money for? Are you kind of raring to go now that you've got that behind you?
Yeah, definitely. So we've actually got a date of when our pitch is going to be completely basically taken apart and rebuilt. So we're very excited, and obviously the gymnasts are like, when is it coming? When is it coming? So yeah, because they haven't been allowed to use it because Gym Nova went, you can't. So
well, we look forward to that being, you know, all those gymnasts springing about with glee when you are finally able to do that. And thank you so much for joining today. Thank you, Nadine, as well. Informative as always. We look forward to lots of you starting your crowdfunding journey and putting in those applications as well for extra funding. The team at Sport England and the team at Crowdfunder are on hand to help you every step of the way. Next steps for you: take a look at the Learn platform that I will share with you. Check for any extra funding. So we have it all listed on our main website as well. Check to see what's in your region or that could be applicable to your project. Have a look at other projects too. So explore projects that have come before you, and ultimately sign up to the platform. It's free to sign up and start actually putting your ideas down, start creating those pages. And before you know it, you'll be in the throes of it, and you'll be able to bring people around you and get this really exciting collaborative fundraising underway. We wish you all the best of luck. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Leah, for being here as well. And keep in touch. Come to a drop-in, follow us on socials, let us know how you all get on. Thank you so much. Goodbye.